To welcome everybody to the June 2025 Bus Advisory Board meeting. This is we'll just go through a few housekeeping on this. So I'd like to welcome everybody to this meeting and remind everybody present that this board meeting is not subject to the 1972 Local Government Act and therefore can continue to take place virtually. It is only the board members that are taking the decisions at the meeting. Others in attendance are there to provide advice to the board. The agenda and the papers have been published on the council's website in advance of the meeting. And the council will be making a recording of this meeting, and it will be published on the council's YouTube channel and website in due course. So today's meeting will be run virtually on Microsoft Teams. Other elected members and officials may remotely join the meeting to speak on specific agenda items or observe. Other members of the public and partners can observe the meeting remotely via the Microsoft Teams. There is also some provision for any members of the public to speak at the meeting via the public questions or statements that have been submitted in advance. Just for good practice, please use the meeting chat function only for the purposes of this meeting, and primarily to indicate to the chair that you wish to speak. Please only speak at my invitation after raising your hand virtually. Please say your name before speaking, and please note the importance of turning off microphones and cameras when not speaking, with the exception of myself. So moving on to item 2, which is apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chair. Well, we've had one apology. That was from Nick Reed. He would represent Great Western Railways.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to check what has been put in the chat because I missed something. No. Okay. So we'll move on to item 3, which is minutes from the previous meeting held on the 29th of April. So I'm going to request approval of the meetings as an accurate record of the previous meeting. Does anybody have any comments? And this is from the members of the board. I'm not seeing any comments, so I think we can take that as approval, unless anybody else has got anything to say. So, swiftly moving on to item 4, which is public question time. Representations can either be a statement or a maximum of 2 questions and should be submitted in writing. We have up to 30 minutes for the public question time. I believe we have 2 people asking questions. Is that correct? So we'll start with question 1, and that's from Barry Childs. Is Barry on the call? Sure, I saw him come in at some point.
Yes, hi Richard.
Hello Barry.
Yeah, I'm away from home at the moment, so I'd appreciate if you're able to read the questions out, because I haven't got them in front of me.
Okay, I'll get Natalie to read the question, if that's okay. Natalie, have you got them there in front of you, or do you want me to read it?
Sorry, Richard, do you mean Natasha?
Sorry, Natasha. Long day.
No, that's okay. I can read them out if you like.
Okay, you read them out and I'll read the response, I think.
Okay. So the first question 1, Taunton Bus Station, aka Transport Hub Mobility Hub. Progress with this BSIP funded project remains bitterly disappointing. I am concerned BSIP funds may be recalled now that over 3 years have elapsed without visible progress. When is construction work scheduled to commence? Who is going to operate it? Perhaps a consortium of operators. Have they all been offered space for staff welfare and/or offices within the building? This needs to be agreed and space allocated before Taunton Town Council rush to commit bus station premises to alternative non-bus usage. None of the emerging themes from their consultation, see Bus Advisory Board 29th of April minutes, were referenced within Taunton Town Council's actual consultation document. Passenger facilities need to be provided as other counties such as Devon provide. Space needs to be allocated even if the nice-to-have elements are not in place at initial opening. Are toilet facilities nearby at Castle Way sufficient, or should they be moved to the bus station? It is clear Taunton Town Council will only provide one such location or the other, understandably. That's question 1. I don't know if you want to respond now, or should I do question 2 as well?
Yeah, I can do. I hope I got the right response. Just make sure I've got it in the right order. I do tend to get these things muddled if I'm not careful.
You okay, Richard?
I think yes. I think it just remind me if I've got the right bit here. As reported at the last Bus Advisory Board on the 29th of April, 2025, work is progressing on this project. The target operational date remains April 2026. We submit quarterly reports to DfT, updating on each BSIP funded scheme, including timescales. They are not aware of the They are aware of the complexities involved, with the project, and have not raised any concern with regards to this timescale. We are currently exploring.
That's the response to the next question. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So question 2, coach integration. The situation at Blackbrook BP Garage bus stop is now, like Castle Way, unfit for purpose. Somerset Bus Partnership have a very recent photograph of 5 coaches trying to use this stop simultaneously. 3 Flixbus and 2 Stagecoach / Megabus Falcon vehicles. Incredibly, there is not even a basic bus shelter here, although the Subway Cafe provides incidental third-party facilities. First Routes 30 is also booked to stop at this location. Other connecting buses call at the nearby Busgate stop, but again, there is no basic shelter there either. Blackbrook Way offers free on-road long-term parking opposite the BP garage, preventing installation of a second bus stop bay, perhaps to accommodate westbound vehicles while eastbound coaches continue to use the existing stop. Should the stops be moved to Gateway Park and Ride and passenger facilities installed there?
Okay, we're currently exploring options to relocate the coach stop at the BP garage into the Gateway Park and Ride site. This does require a planning application to vary the current planning conditions associated with the Gateway site. It is important to highlight that whilst we're exploring this option, we need to be mindful that this may not be popular with all members of the public, as there are no facilities available at the Gateway site. A second bus stop bay was added behind the existing one at the request of Stagecoach on Wednesday, the 18th of June. I think that's it.
Richard, and thank you, Natasha, for reading that out for me.
Yeah. Okay, so move on to Andy. Andy Strong.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Andy Strong, resident and bus user. My question is The initial bus service improvement plan published in October 2021 set a range of targets that will be aimed for if the accompanying bid were to be awarded in full. Well, the final award, although welcome, fell a long way short of what had been bid for, so several targets became unachievable. The previous government required transport authorities to publish a refreshed BSIP in June 2024, along with the new bus connectivity assessment, but did not require them to update their BSIP targets, ending its intention to streamline the monitoring and evaluation process for both. And that was a year ago. No further action seems to have been taken to update Somerset's BSIP targets according to the website, which still shows the old information. Recently, the current government has confirmed that bus connectivity assessments will be scrapped. There seems to be no reason, therefore, not to set new, realistic targets now. And such action will give much greater transparency over how the council and bus operators are working together in the enhanced partnership to improve bus services, and whether or not the enhanced partnership needs to be adjusted or strengthened. So the question is, will the council, at the earliest opportunity, set a revised, simple range of targets for bus services that reflect bus operators' plans for investment and market growth, alongside public investment in bus priorities and revenue support, and commit to reporting performance against those targets to the Bus Advisory Board every 6 months? Thank you.
As suggested in the question, we're waiting for the DfT to review bus connectivity assessment, the BCAs, and issue further guidance. At the recent Bus Strategy Forum, the DfT advised that they have been working on a new reporting template which will be issued to local transport authorities next month as part of a trial, which will inform future reporting. Once we've received this template, we will review this and determine our next steps in terms of setting targets. It may be we need to wait for the trial to complete and further reporting guidance to be issued, but we will assess this once we've received the new template and any guidance. So, you will receive a written version of the responses. Okay, moving on to section 5, which is multi-operator ticket update. So I'm going to invite Natasha, sorry, I got your name right this time, to give us an update. That's okay.
Yes, thank you. And I will just share my screen just a second with me. Right, hopefully you can see that in slideshow format. Yep, okay. So good morning, everybody. I'm Natasha Bates, and I'm the Service Manager for Transport Planning within Somerset Council. So this morning, I'm just going to give you a very quick update on multi-operator ticketing. And for those of you that were at the last board meeting, you'll recall there was a public question on multi-operator ticketing and what the council were doing. So this is just to provide that update. So in terms of progress since the last meeting, we have continued to engage with Peninsula Transport and our neighbouring authorities on the regional ticketing project. So we're very keen to be involved in the Peninsula Transport project and input at every opportunity we can. So we're continuing to do so. We also met with a consultant from Peninsula Transport who is supporting them with this project, but has also worked at Cornwall previously and was at Cornwall when they developed their multi-operator ticket. So that was a very useful discussion. We had lots of feedback from the consultant in terms of steps required to achieve this and kind of things that worked well, lessons learned. So I think the thing we took away from that was not to underestimate the timescales involved and the work required. They're very clear that it does take some time to put the process in place and make sure it works effectively for everybody. And the other thing really was that operators do require reimbursement for each journey that's made on their services. So I think operators were keen to be involved in the scheme, but they did need that reimbursement, understandably. And then one of my colleagues also attended the DfT Bus Strategy Forum last week, where there were several updates on various issues, but that also included an update on Project Coral, which is the DfT project to create a back office system to support the delivery of multi-operator ticketing schemes. Now, the DfT have been very clear throughout that local authorities should wait for the Project Coral to be developed and not to try and develop their own back office schemes. So there was an update on that, and at the moment the DfT are out at their first stage of procurement to source a supplier to deliver that back office system. So work is progressing on that, but at this stage I don't have any further timescales, but we will keep everyone updated on that. So that's what we've been doing in the meantime. And then just thought it'd be helpful to give you a bit of an overview of the steps that are required to achieve this, so yeah, you can understand just how much work is involved. So firstly, we need some capacity within the team, so we need some resource to help us deliver the scheme and roll that out. We need to review the Somerset network and just understand any capacity issues at key points. So hopefully from introducing a multi-operator ticket, we'll be increasing patronage on the network, and we just need to be aware if that's going to cause us any capacity issues, so we can start to think about that and address those potential issues. We need to review and benchmark the fares, so looking at fares across the Somerset County and also cross-border services, so we understand exactly what's happening at the moment in the market. We need to have discussion and agreement with operators that they're happy to be on board and part of this scheme, and we'll need to agree a common product and fare. So whether that's like a day ticket at a set price, we need to get everyone on board with the same fare structure. We'll also need to develop a clear strategy for fares on our tendered contracts, so they can also be part of the wider scheme as well. And then we need to devise commercial agreements. So we've been told that we need to allow a minimum of 3 months to achieve this. We will work with our larger operators who have been involved in this in other areas, and there may be templates we can use and develop to achieve the agreement that's suitable for all operators, which then leads to the operators all signing up to those agreements. We'll need the back office system to manage this so that we can redirect the revenue to the correct operators depending on where the journeys are made, and that's where the Project Coral comes in. And then there may be a need for updating of ticket machines depending on what's in place at the moment. We might need to upgrade some of the machines to be able to read other operators' tickets and to scan QR codes, etc. But we'll have to do a bit of an audit on that to understand what's required. And then finally, there may be some training of drivers in terms of the new scheme, the product available, and obviously selling those through the ticket machines. So as you can see, there's quite a lot of work to be done to get to the point where we're able to deliver a multi-operator ticket. So finally, just in terms of next steps, so what are we needing to do? So recruiting the resource is kind of high priority for us. So at the moment, we've got adverts out for 3 vacancies. Those are closing in the next couple of weeks. So hopefully we'll be able to move forward and get some resource in place. We'll continue to engage with Peninsula Transport on the regional project and engage with that at every opportunity. I've also spoken to Peninsula Transport about the possibility of them presenting at a future board meeting, and they're happy to do so at a point that's appropriate for them, and hopefully that will be at our autumn board meeting. And then obviously we'll be watching the progress of Project Coral very closely and engaging with the DfT at any opportunity we can to be part of that project as well. So that's really just a quick update on where we are in terms of multi-operator ticketing. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to invite questions, but first of all, I think I'm going to firstly bring in Andy. He's put he's more of a statement than a question in the in the chat, and I appreciate that from your point of view, that there's an easy system, but to get it started. But of course, it's probably not quite as simple. But I'm going to give it to. Well, I'll let you ask your question, Andy, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, I suppose the question is, given the fact that the tickets themselves have got to be set up, as has been said, you need to agree amongst operators what ticket you're gonna sell, or what tickets, and the favourite is probably a day ticket based on zones. Then such a ticket could be set up in a comparatively short period of time, just by agreement between operators to sell the ticket and keep the revenue themselves. Let's let the revenue lie where it falls as a interim measure pending the release of the full software to allow the tap on tap off to be done. It works like that in a number of other places around the country. So I see no reason why that can't be done. Excuse me, it can't be done as a way of getting this moving. Then when just the software is fully available, when you've got all the commercial agreements about reimbursement in place, then you've got a platform on which to get that going. This work to actually set up the tickets is going to have to be done at some time.
Natasha, if you got a response, I think that's almost a response for the operators. But do you want to just clarify that?
Yeah, I mean, we will certainly have those conversations with operators. I mean, some of them might want to express a view now, but I don't want to put anyone on the spot. But it will be dependent on whether operators are willing to do something like that, and whether they want reimbursement for every journey that takes place on their route. So we need to have those conversations to see what's possible in terms of Andy's proposal.
Okay, I'm going to move on to David. I think you've got your hand up.
Thank you, Chair. Apologies for the Great Western Conference. So my point is, Western and Wirral Combined Authority have a series of joint tickets. One of their tickets goes out into West Wiltshire as far as Chippenham, the Avon Ryder. I don't understand why we couldn't be talking to the operators. It's first group in the west of England, like it's first group in Somerset. Why we on Stagecoach? Why we couldn't be talking to the west of England and see if we can do something quicker with the west of England by making a Somerset zone. First, have a ticket that crosses the county, because it's West of England Plus, which covers the whole of Somerset and the Unitary Somersets in the north, and into South Gloucestershire. So I just wonder if we can move forward. And the other thing is, there's a Freedom Pass as well, which is a rail component with zones, which stops at Weston-super-Mare at the moment, and a place called Freshford. I wonder again if we can have a conversation. It would be quite easy to, as Andy Strong says, used to be a Wecker officer and a Baines officer, to extend their tickets into the rest of Somerset. And also, I'm very concerned about Peninsula. Got a lot of time for Peninsula, no, Richard, but Somerset looks north. So if you live in the Mendips, you're looking to Bristol for healthcare, Bath for the RUH, universities at college services, and our buses go north. Frome is the same, where Peter Travers is. So I just think we've got to work a gateway as well. We've got to find a solution that covers the whole of what is Somerset, not just the unitary bit in the south. Those are my points, but we should be moving on this, and I'm just concerned we're tying ourselves to Peninsula when actually our bus services go north. Thanks.
Yeah, I think some cross STB work is definitely something that I'll be looking to do moving forward. Peninsula should be working very strongly with is it Western Gateway STB?
Yeah, it's Western Gateway.
Yeah, and I think that we probably could do better with that as a regional thing. So I take on board what you say about that, and I think your other question really was just backing up what Andy has said, and I think it's fair to say that we will have these conversations with the operators, but we do need we do need operators to be on board with whatever we do. We can't move to a thing before we have the back office technology, whatever it was. It Coral,
Project Coral, yeah.
Yeah, without their support. So I think that there's definitely questions to be held, and we will have those conversations. So I'm just going to move to Natasha.
Yeah, shall I just add to that to say that, just to reassure, in the conversations I've been involved with Peninsula, I have each time flagged the point that we've got a lot of routes going north into Weka. They're very aware of that. They're very aware of needing to work with the Western Gateway SDB as well, and they've also been engaging with obviously First West of England as the main operator that's kind of transferring that way. So we're not just being isolated to just the Somerset kind of peninsula.
I don't see any more questions on the multi-operator ticket update. Which in that case, I will move straight on to item 6, which is timetable changes proposed for the 31st of August 2025. So I'm going to invite operators present to present their proposals. So do we have Simon Ford here from Stagecoach? Or somebody else? Anybody from Stagecoach wish to present their not seeing anybody at this point. We'll move on. Is Josh Strickland here from Hatch Green, or anybody from Hatch Green?
Hello, Chair. It's Josh here from Hatch Green.
Brilliant. Hello, Josh.
Hello. Shall I just summarise the two timetable changes that we would like to make?
Yeah, please.
The first one is for the 16 service, which is a tendered service between Bridgwater and Langport, and that operates Monday to Saturday. There have been a few changes on that route in terms of locations which have had a reduction in speed limits, and we also have an increasing passenger demand for that service in Bridgwater at the moment. So what we're finding is that on afternoon trips especially, we are incurring delays. On some of the estates in Bridgwater, we are stopping far more often to drop people off and pick them up, which is slowing down in terms of reliability, punctuality for those stops. So the combined effect of new speed limits and then increasing demand in Bridgwater means that in the afternoon we're really not running as punctually as we would like to be, and often incurring some delays. So we'd like to retime that timetable specifically for the afternoon trips, moving times by approximately 15 minutes, but still keeping the set departure time from Bridgwater College each college day in the afternoon. So that's the first one that we'd like to amend. The second one is slightly more complex and is for a commercial service in Taunton, the 97, which operates between the town centre, Gulmington, Comitro and Trull. That service has been increasingly getting more patronage from the Gulmington and Comitro areas. And then on each trip, that service joins Wellington Road at various points 5 times each trip. And with the increased traffic volumes that are now travelling through Wellington Road, because that's the official diversion with the Junction 26 closure at Wellington, we have sought permission from the Traffic Commissioner for a short notice variation to that service. And we've consulted with John Perrott about that particular variation, which initially we would like to be short term for the duration of the works at Wellington. And then if that proves to be popular in terms of the changes to the times on that service, then we'd look to make that permanent. One change I'd also just like to bring to your attention for that particular service. Currently, we serve Somerset College on that route every hour, but we actually only have passengers using that service at Somerset College in the morning and then again in the afternoon. And we would like to, rather than dropping into Somerset College, serve from opposite Somerset College on Wellington Road on those trips where we don't have patronage at the moment from the college. That would also help with the timing issues that we've experienced with the additional traffic volumes.
Okay, that's on the face of it, it's nice to hear that you're getting more passengers than you can deal with. I think that would be the message I'm getting from what you're saying.
You're right. That is definitely the message with both of those. There's an increasing demand for both of them. And what we're experiencing with both of those services is not only increasing number of people travelling, but also the number of people who are getting off at multiple stops along the course of a route, mean that the buses, both cases, are stopping more frequently. So each trip is just taking longer to conduct.
Okay. I've noticed in the chat that somebody's asking for a further explanation on the 97.
Yeah, of course.
What is the short-term notice change? And
what is the change to that timetable? So yeah. Currently that's an hourly service. It operates a trip into Taunton and back out, serving Troll and Garmington and Comitro, and that takes approximately 45 minutes to do that trip. So it's one trip per hour. What we're finding is that at the moment that trip is taking much closer to an hour, so it will be no change to the frequency. It would still take place every hour, but the back half of each trip, the times would be moved so that there would be a greater amount of time allowed in between each stop on the back half of each trip. So there'd be no change in the overall level of service, but the back half would be times moved back by between 5 and 10 minutes on stops from Musgrove Park Hospital through to Galmington, Comitro and back to Troll.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. That's all your changes?
Just the two. Yeah.
Just the two. Okay, I think we'll move on in that case. Or just a second. I've just noticed in the chat again that David Northey's asked, does the route remain the same except for the college stops being removed?
Yes, absolutely. No change at all to the route, with the exception of the dropping in and out of Somerset College.
Okay. Thank you for that. Do we have Daniel Pickford from Fairsaber? I'm guessing not.
Excuse me, Chair. I've got Daniel can't make today's meeting, so he's asked me just to give an update on. They've got one change they're proposing to make. So if I could just run through that quickly for you.
Okay.
So the service they're looking to change is the X34 from Chippenham to Frome. It is minor timetable changes, but it does include an extra journey from Frome to Trowbridge at 8:15 on Mondays to Fridays. And that's to cater for increased patronage between Frome and Trowbridge schools and Trowbridge College, and an extension of the 17:30 in the evening from Chippenham to go back to Frome, arriving in the marketplace at 6:52. And apart from that, there's just going to be some very minor timing changes. So literally 2 or 3 minutes here and there, just to improve on punctuality. But apart from that, that's the only change. So it is actually overall an improvement in the service, with 2 extra extensions on current journeys and a little bit of retiming just to make it more reliable. Thank you.
Okay. Whilst you're on the line, John, would you like to do Somerset Council?
Yes, I can do that. For this, I want to share on the screen. Just bear with me a sec. You caught me on the hop there. I wasn't expecting that. So bear with me a moment. Here we go. Let's see if I can bring this up. All right. Oops. Sorry, can everybody see this?
Just the screen.
Yes.
Oh, there it is.
Yep. Okay, right, there's the header. Okay, so I'll just run through changes to tendered services for September. I say September because everything we're changing actually starts on the Monday. So Monday is the 1st of September. It is this time of year, we're mainly looking at routes that are either focused solely on college journeys or that have significant college movements within them. We tend to look at April for services that are more general, if you like, more detailed. At this time of year, obviously, we're trying to time changes for colleges in the main because, of course, it's the start of the academic year, and we want to make the change when they start off at college, not in April when they're 2/3 of the way through their academic year. So you'll see that most of the list is around specific college journeys, but I'll run through the changes we're looking at. First of all, on the 16th, so just touch on what Josh said earlier, and we will be looking to make changes to the timetable to accommodate what he is suggesting. But effectively, that contract is coming up for expiry at the end of this month. So we will be proposing to retender. I have said no changes. I'd forgotten about the minor ones that Josh wants to make. So we will incorporate those because obviously we want to use current operator experience. But apart from that, there are no proposals to change the route or timetable of service 16. It's merely a retender. The next service is 23, which is Willerton, West Bagborough, Copper Luke into Taunton. Again, it's simply a contract expiry. We're going to retender for the start of September, and we have no changes planned to the route or timetable for that service. X26, which is the college day only service from Dulverton and Taunton colleges, we're going to tweak it very slightly. We're just going to reroute it through West Buckland in the morning off of Junction 26, obviously once the Junction 6 works are completed in September. So we don't have an exact date for that at the moment, but obviously the moment the works are done and we can access that, we'll change the route. And that is really the only change. So we're just going to route it in a different way. At the moment, the X26 comes along the motorway and comes off at Junction 25. But when it goes back in the evening, it actually goes back on Junction 26 and goes along the A38. So we just want to make a change so that it's doing the same thing in both directions to a certain extent. We can pick up West Buckland as well, and we can provide, as I say, the same route in both directions. And all it will mean is a timing change for the arrival at the 2 colleges. So they'll literally just flip around. So Somerset College will be served first, and then Richard Hewish, and then in the evening, obviously Richard Hewish, and then Somerset College on the way back. So a pretty minor change to X26, and obviously the times will be timed for college start and finish times during the day. Service 27, which is something slightly different. As you know, we got a trial on the 27, Wither Liscombe to West Buckland. During the trial, we've had lots of feedback from the Withy and Welly bus groups. I'd like to thank them particularly for that. Lots of detail, lots of useful information that we've had about that. We've had a number of suggestions. We'd like to take some of those forward. One of the things we want to do is to reverse the journeys around. So essentially to start from the Wither Liscombe end towards Wellington. We've had a lot of feedback about that in particular. We do agree that that's probably where the main flows are going. So it does mean that the service will start a little bit later because it just takes us a bit longer to get out to Wither Liscombe than it does obviously to Wellington from our depot at Silk Mills. So it'll be slightly retimed. And then those journeys will operate also from Langley Corner. We've been asked to extend it that little bit further up the road. It won't cost us much time. time, and therefore we're happy to do that. And there is a turning facility at West Buckland, so we can incorporate that for the housing and obviously the residents that are get my villages right, at Langley Corner, so that we can incorporate the people who live at that end of the route. So all the journeys will then serve Langley Corner through to West Buckland. The other thing we've been asked to consider is alternative weekdays of operation. So it's something that we're happy to look at. At the moment, the service runs Tuesday and Thursday. We have been asked to extend the number of days it runs, but at the moment, we would like to see if we can generate more patronage first. What we're concerned about is that if we increase the number of days of operation, we'll simply dilute the numbers of passengers across those days, so that the actual numbers on the journeys, which are quite reasonable to be fair at the moment on those journeys on the minibus, we don't want to see them drop dramatically because we extend the days. But what we are keen to understand is that if people would prefer to see different days during the week that the service operates, instead of Tuesday and Thursday, say Monday and Thursday, or Wednesday and Friday or something like that, we can look at alternatives and see if we can do those instead. So we'll be engaging directly with the Withy Welly Bus Group over this change. They did send us a comprehensive list. We'll be responding to that and obviously confirming the things we'd like to do and having further discussions about, in particular, those alternative weekdays. Next service up is 52, Yeovil to Bower Hinton. Again, it's a contract expiry. We'll be retendering. We're not planning, again, to make any changes to the route or timetable on that service. 98 from Broadway Churchingford into Taunton, which is largely around students coming into Taunton colleges. Again, there's a contract expiry there. We're going to retender. There are no changes planned to routes and timetables. The 519, Pilton to Strode College. Again, a college service up for retender. No changes proposed. The 613, Bishop's Lydia to Bridgewater College. Contract expiry. We're going to retender that service with no changes proposed. 623, and I'm sure First will cover this when they speak later. They have given notice to us on that service that it is no longer commercially viable. So we will be looking to tender that service from the beginning of September. We're not proposing to make any changes to the routing. There are a reasonable number of students using that service, and we can't amalgamate that and the service below. There are significant numbers between the two routes. So that's being deregistered, and we will tender pretty much as is from the beginning of September. And 625 is the next one, Taunton, Bridgewater to Kennington Colleges. In this case, we have a de minimis contract currently with First, but again, they are saying that de minimis payment is insufficient to support the service. So we will be looking to tender that route as well. That will go out over the summer, and we'll look again to put that back exactly as it is at the moment. There's no proposed changes to that service. We're just going to ensure that that is in place for the start of colleges in September. And finally, and one more college route, 649 from Gurney Slade Strode College. Again, we just need to retender that. The contract is up, and again, we have no plans to make any changes. Thank you.
Okay. Just before I go to Dave, who's put his hand up on this, I do have a couple of questions in the chat, which is one on the retendered services. Will we add the condition into the contract the operators must comply with the bus passenger charter and show it on their website?
Okay, yeah, I don't see why not. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's a nice simple one. And also, what about the number 3 and number 12 services in Taunton? Presumably no change.
There are no change to either of those. They're not up. They're both run by our own in-house fleet. So that's effectively a direct award to our own in-house fleet. So there's no retender, and there are no changes planned to those two routes at all.
And we have a thumbs up for the additional services in the West Buckland X26. So you'll be glad to hear that, John.
Yep, that's good.
Okay, David, Councillor Mansell, sorry, I'll be professional.
Thanks very much, Richard. And thanks, John, as well. I'm referring, as I'm sure you realise, to the 27, and without doubt, those changes are welcome, especially reversing the journey and extending to Langley. So thanks for that. It should lead to good improvements. I think it was clear, but just making sure I've understood, and I will be reporting back. And good to hear that you'll be in contact with the bus user group, who, as you say, do very good work on this. The other days of the week, so potentially there could be different days from September if there's some clear preferences said. I mean, inevitably, there will be some people who like the Tuesday and Thursday, but there have been people who've, as you say, been saying other days. But anyway, the point is, it could change from September if there's some clear preferences and reasons for moving the 2 days, but not extra days at the current time.
We can move the days if that's the preference. So if the view is that we should do, I don't know, Monday and Thursday instead, then we can make that change. So it's just that came up in the list of issues around, as you say, some people preferring different days. So if there is a view that perhaps it will be better used if we altered one or both of those days, then we're happy to look at that. Yeah, not a problem.
Great, thank you.
Okay, just noticed Linda's asked about the 50 and the 53. Any changes in Newville? Nope.
There were no changes in this round. I think we might look potentially at the next change for next year again, because those services are not necessarily linked to college in particular, and we want to give them a bit more time to bed in because they've only been in since April. So we're not planning to make any changes on those two routes currently, no.
Okay, right. So I think we'll move on to let's have it's either Stuart or Rebecca on the line from First South West.
Hello, Councillor Wilkins.
Hello.
Just share my screen. Bear with me 2 seconds. Can everyone see that okay? Yep. So my name's Stuart Bailey. I'm the Network Revenue Manager for First South. So just go over a brief overview of the changes that we've already implemented since our April implementation. So based on feedback, we have introduced the early morning trip 622 on the Taunton Town number 1 service, bringing people into Taunton for 7 o'clock. And also based on feedback from Mr. MP Dance, the Service 30s had a trip move back from 17 to 17:10 to allow customers leaving work to travel home. Moving forward, a quick overview of changes, what we are planning. So initially we do have an upcoming change for the 21A service that we're bringing in early with support of Somerset Council. This is due to poor punctuality results on the service being derived from the Dumble roundabout roadworks, and we feel a new timetable is required as soon as possible to address punctuality concerns and offer a more reliable service to our customers. The number of trips and structure of the timetable remains broadly similar to what we've got at the moment, but the length of the trips throughout the day do change. So intermediary timings are different to allow additional time. Moving towards our 31st of August changes, on our tendered service, the 2525A, we would like to just do some minor retiming around Milverton to improve reliability and rebalance some timings now that roadworks have finished in that area. No changes to amount of trips or anything else. It's just moving 7 or 8 minutes around mid-route. On the 2828A service for our sort of winter timetable, we will be removing the service from the Bishop Lyddard West Somerset Railway from the route. This will save us 3 or 4 minutes on each trip, and that time will be reinvested into the remainder of the route for reliability reasons. So all the trips will remain the same length. It will just omit that section of route. There is a bus stop at Lethbridge Arms, which is within walking distance of the West Somerset Railway if anyone should want to go there. For Yeovil, the 51 town service, we're going to do some quite big structural changes to that service. So we are going to split the route into two and have two circular services as an east and west circular. We're also going to add Tesco and Henford Lodge Medical Centre to the route, and we are going to add additional time in for reliability. We're also increasing, we are changing the time when the third bus enters a cycle to allow for an earlier peak frequency. With the additional patronage we've seen recently, we do need to add additional time into the route for reliability. With the additional time required and the additional areas on the route, we will need to move the frequency from 30 minutes to 35 minutes to allow for this time. Customers will be able to stay on one bus, the 51, get back to the bus station, and that bus will continue as a 61, and we'll allow through ticketing on that. So if customers do want to travel through as the bus does at the moment, that won't impact them, and it'll only be a 5-minute wait at the bus station. I do have some more detail on the 51 on my next slide. The Yeovil to Taunton 54 service, we're doing some minor retiming of trips just to further improve reliability. So no changes in the amount of trips, just some trips are being retimed with the addition of extra 10 minutes in places. And we're changing some of the start times to offer more consistency across the week. And as John Perrett mentioned earlier, the 63-65 we will stop operating at the end of this school term and await a retendering process on those services. Detail on the 51-61. So the 51 will be the circular that goes to Asda, and the 61 will be Cavalier Way. I've given an indicative timetable here to show how the buses operate. So there'll be a 10-minute wait at Yeovil bus station where a 51 will come in and then leave as a 61 and vice versa. So the impact to the customer will be minimal. However, with the additions to Tesco and Henford on both of these services, with the additional reliability, we do anticipate vast improvement in the service. And that's everything from me.
Okay, we do have we will have some questions, but I'm going to just dive straight in with the removal of the stop at the West Somerset Railway. You've put that in as a winter change. So am I to understand that next summer you're looking to reinstate that stop?
It's a potential. It's passenger numbers at that stop are fairly low. So the 3 to 4 minutes added to every single trip, we feel particularly over the winter period, is more beneficial to that service. We'll have to wait and see what the numbers over this summer do in terms of what we're going to do for next summer. Currently, to date, this financial year, we've seen around 240 passengers use that stop. So not a huge amount. And the the Lethbridge Arm stop is within about a 2-minute walk from the railway station. So it's not a massive impact on the passengers, but we feel for the rest of the customers on the route, increasing that reliability by 3 or 4 minutes will be beneficial.
Okay, thank you. I've got a question from David, I believe. So, David?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not happy about that West Somerset thing at all. And to be honest with you, I don't think First South or First Group PLC is doing any marketing of that particular West Somerset Railway. When Alex Carter was the MD, we did a lot of marketing with the West Somerset Railway, including leaflets, brochures. We could work with First Great Western, with them now, actually, physically with them. No, I'm not happy at all. I think we've created a tourism economy. We've created a corridor to Minehead. I think, Richard, we should request another discussion about this with the West Somerset Railway, with Somerset Council, and with Visit Somerset, because I'm not seeing any, we've got 2,000 books, which are welcome from Rebecca, but that's all. The marketing's abysmal, and I don't see any cooperation with the West Somerset Railway or First Great Western, to be honest, which is a First Group company for another year. So I want that taken back, and I would not be supporting this at next summer's change. And if those figures have dropped, that's because of reliability and punctuality on that particular route. Marketing, it doesn't work, and the MP is about to seek a meeting with the MD, isn't she, for the area Richard urgently about the 28 service. She sent me an email this morning. David Nordy knows that as well. So no, I'm not very far from happy. We marketed that as a corridor. Passenger numbers have dropped. I'm not sure where they've dropped. Can we ask the question, what discussions happened with the West Somerset Railway? When did that happen? And can we have the minutes and detail of those discussions between First South and the West Somerset Railway and Somerset Council? I'd like to see that whole thing taken away and rethought through. And by the way, I'm a wheelchair user, so the Leatheridge Arms is quite a wheel for me. If you'd like to join me, Stuart, you're very welcome, or Rebecca, to see exactly how that works for a passenger with reduced mobility, trying to connect between a First Group bus and a West Somerset Railway train. Doesn't do much for integrated transport, Richard, either, to be honest with you. And I make my point. First Great Western Railway is part of First Group. They're not divorced. They're not part of the DfT yet. And we need some discussion. We can get Mark Hopper around the table. Nick Reed is with me now. He sends his apologies, Richard. So I'd like that. Not happy at all. Thank you.
Okay, I think your point is very much taken, David. I think we'll take that away because there is definitely it's definitely an interesting concept that we can't integrate, that we can't get the numbers to integrate. Okay, it is a it's not a West Somerset Railway is a tourist destination, but it's interesting that that you're saying, Stuart, that the numbers are that low, okay, I think that's something we can take away.
Just one more point on that. We do also have operational challenges coming through the industrial estate, which does hamper the reliability of the service. So there is, I believe, a tractor warehouse that often lorries unload tractors that can cause delays to the buses. So omitting that section of the route, for the very low number of customers that we're seeing using it, we feel overall for the service it's a beneficial
Richard,
change.
I use that route 20 times a month.
David,
I've never seen that. Sorry to come back.
Can you put your hand up? I hear what you're saying, David. I think we will have further discussions on this. Clearly, we need to just understand a bit more about it. But I think your point is very well made, David, and I know that you're a huge user of the West Somerset Railway and would personally find it difficult to go that extra distance from the other bus stop. So, we'll hold those conversations. Okay. Is there any questions on any other part? I think there's a lot of questions on that particular one. What have we got from David? It's the steam train. So okay, Peter, do you have a question?
Just wanted to raise that Mick Leary from Bridgewater has asked about what changes for the 21 at Dunbar.
Yeah, sorry, I missed that. You're quite correct.
Yeah, so no changes to the 21 route. It's just the roadworks and traffic we're seeing due to the delays in the area means we need to change the trip length on the 21. So we're adding additional resource in the 21 to bolster reliability, but no changes to the route.
Timings as such?
Yeah, the trips are extended, so the same amount of trips. They're just longer when required to improve punctuality.
Okay, so how many minutes are we looking on? Are we looking at those trips just to give us a bit of an understanding?
It varies throughout the day. I can provide John and Natasha some more detail, but it can be up to sort of 12 minutes longer compared to what we're currently operating. But it does change dynamically throughout the day where required.
But there's no change in service other than just factoring in the delays that are already accumulated.
Yeah, and the frequency remains the same as well. Yeah.
I think that answers the question on that. Do we have any other questions for Stuart? think at this point we need to have a conversation. I'll let you come in, David.
Okay. Thanks, Councillor Richard Wilkins. Just one bit about the 28. One of the biggest issues that we have is timing of the buses to arrive in Minehead for the school times. We still haven't got it quite right. The buses either arrive too early or just after the school day starts. And it is an issue that we're seeing in feedback. So that is one thing that we possibly need to take a look at.
Okay, thanks for that, David. I'll leave that with John and Stuart to have a conversation over. Who else have we got? Okay, Barry, I've let David have a bite of the cherry. I'll let you have a quick bite as well.
Yeah, we're meeting with Stuart on the 30th of June, and one of the matters I've got flagged up to speak to him about is indeed the arrival times in Minehead on weekdays off the 28th. We did request an earlier bus for the first arrival in Minehead on weekdays for workers, and that was duly provided at the last timetable change, and is very well received, and people are grateful for that. But what did happen, and we didn't spot when we first saw the drafts of the April changes, the second outbound 28 now arrives in Minehead too late for school attendance and people starting work at 9 o'clock. So we went 3 steps forward with the first bus and now 2 or 3 steps back with the second bus. So we have got that flagged up. SPP are going to raise that with First and see if we can possibly resolve that for the timetable change.
Okay, thanks for that, Barry, and that's a good heads up to Stuart on what's coming. So that's probably very useful. Okay, I think we'll leave that there. So we'll go on to, do we have Dan from First West of England on the call?
Morning, everyone. Hello.
Hi, Dan.
Hello. Yeah, not much from us. Thanks for a nice easy one. So our quick ones are service 20 will go back to its winter frequency for the winter, roughly hourly, 7 days a week. And then we have a new service X21 operating from Weston down to Bridgewater. One journey in the morning and 1 journey back to the college. No changes to the main bulk of our stuff in Somerset. We are going to look at putting additional vehicles into the cycle to try and get them a bit more on time than they have been. So I think the running time is pretty much where it needs to be. They get in late, kind of coming into Bristol and leaving Bristol. So if we're putting a bit of resilience in there, the timetable should stay the same. There's more chance your bus will be on time, so that should be quite decent for everyone. And then our only timetable change is the D2, D2X. So we've revised the running times across the week. Off-peak, we tend to run more D2s on this one, and also in the evening, based off passenger feedback, we convert some D2Xs into D2s to give some connectivity around the Froome area, and then coming back into Bath. The Kinetic schools are all catered for, so hopefully it's a good improvement for everything. 126 wise, no changes from us on that one. And that's it from us.
Okay, I'm just going to invite any questions on that. It doesn't seem to be too much difference. Nope, you got away with it lightly, Dan. Okay, unless we've got anybody from Stagecoach. Have we anybody from Stagecoach? I'll take that as a no. I think that's all the operators then.
Well, thanks, Richard. Don't forget South West coaches. I don't mind.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Don't worry about us. No, that's fine. I know where we stand. No, we're really easy. We've only got one really small change. It's on a college service 647, and we're just switching around Pound Lane and Gillingham Station for September, just for operational purposes. But there's nothing of any significance. That makes absolutely no difference to anyone really, other than a couple of college kids in the morning.
Okay, apologies. I'm blaming John Perrott for going out of order.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
You. Let's blame John. I think that's easiest.
Okay, I think that's fairly explanatory.
I think Linda put in the chat 50-53 changes. There's no current changes planned for the 50-53. Timing wise is 96.24% on time. So timing wise, it's running well. I don't see any issues with that.
Okay, perfect. I don't see any other questions. Oh yes, I do. Who have we got? David.
Just want to go back to First South for a minute. I'm with First Great Western physically now, and South Western. We're no longer a part of First. The changes on the 30. We just need to make sure we look at the connectivity at Axminster Railway Station with South Western Railway and the X53, X51, which are also run by First. Because obviously we've had feedback Rosa Kell has at Axminster and feedback from South Western Railway. And we've also got this retiming where we missed the connectivity of the train coming in. The bus goes off early at 10 to 7, Richard, and the train comes in at 7:15 if you want to go off to Bridport in the evenings. But the 30, X51, X53 needs a conversation between Devon, Dorset and yourselves and First to make sure those buses connect to hub and spoke with the trains. So if Rebecca can have a look at that more carefully. Rose has done an awful lot of work on that. I've been down sitting in stalls, and it's a big issue in Chard, and it's a big issue, Richard, in Bridport and Lyme Regis. So if we can have that connectivity looked at, maybe it won't be for this autumn changes, but for next summer, I'll be very grateful. I'm working with South Western Railway and First Great Western Railways. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, David. I think Stuart will take that on board. We've got something from Natasha.
Yeah, sorry, I just thought I'd come in with Stagecoach. I know obviously they're not on the call, but they have advised us that the only changes they'll be making are to service 20, and it's very minor timetable changes to address punctuality reliability. We don't have the detail, but we'll ask them for the detail and we can share it where we can, but it is only the 20 they're making changes to. I know the chat says about Park and Ride, but we're not making any changes to Park and Ride.
Okay. Just in case I upset any more operators, is there any other operator on the line that I've missed? Apologies if I have, but shout now or forever be quiet. Okay, I feel suitably chastised, but I'll just mention that just remind members that the 2026 change date will be agreed at the next meeting in October. So there we go. And I'll move on to section 7, which is a partnership proposal. So this is a proposal from the Somerset Bus Partnership, and I'm going to move on to Andy Strong to give a short presentation on their proposals, and I think this is aimed at the at our operators as much as anything. But fire away.
Thank you. It's aimed at both operators and council as well. I'll run through it fairly quickly, and I'm happy to take any questions afterwards with your permission, Chair. This is based on a proposal that was put to the bus user and stakeholder group back on the 5th of June, earlier this month, and I think it was broadly welcomed and well received there. And it's quite appearing on the agenda after operators have reported what's happening at the end of August is quite timely, because it puts a few things into perspective. So what we're talking about here, there's a clear difference between consultation and providing information. This covers both of those things. Consultation with bus users and local communities on proposals to make changes should be a key part of the decision-making process. It helps operators and council make better decisions because you know what some of what the impact is likely to be. And we've seen there in those reports from operators that some things have already been changed or are going to be changed in August as a result of probably decisions that could have been made a little better with the April changes. Some things only came to light after they've been implemented. And the other aspect of this is providing information to bus users and local communities after a final decision has been made and well in advance of the implementation of the changes. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you, Natasha, for doing the slides for me. Next one, please.
I think there's a slight delay. I've already changed it.
Okay, thank you. So consultation, the kind of benchmark for how consultation should be carried out is according to these 4 principles, the Gunning principles. So the proposals are still at a formative stage and no final decision has been made nor predetermined by decision makers. And you're giving consultees sufficient information to allow them to understand what's going on and give a considered response. You've got to allow adequate time for that. That may be tricky if groups you're consulting have got to have internal meetings and so forth. And finally, the decision makers need to give conscientious consideration to the responses before they make their decision, and they've got to be able to demonstrate that well, yes, we listened to this, but we weren't able to do it because of whatever reason. The important point here is that the consultation doesn't, consultation of itself, the results of the consultation should influence a decision, but not determine it, because there are still a whole range of factors that have to be taken into account by decision makers. But at least you can get better information on what the impact will be and potentially other alternative things that could be done. Next slide, please. So the issues that we're trying to address here, at the moment, there's no mechanism in the EP scheme for meaningful consultation with bus users and communities. We have the presentation to this meeting by operators, which is of course very welcome. We have a limited amount of prior information given to groups like Somerset Bus Partnership, but we don't have anything enshrined in the EP apart from a rather oddly worded stipulation about changes to frequency. So the result is we get what appear to be fairly short-term planning horizons and last-minute decisions made without full consideration of the impact on bus users' travel needs. And I don't mean to be critical of bus company colleagues on the call here, because I understand the pressures that you're under to manage your services. And we have too much time that's spent after the event by councillors, council officers, bus company managers, and even MPs in responding and receiving and responding to complaints about changes that have been made and the impact of them. So we have mistakes that have been made that have to be rectified subsequently, and we've just seen some evidence of that. And we had some examples with the April changes that the full timetables for some routes were not published until a few days before implementation in April, and that's completely I say that's completely unacceptable, because operators must register the full timetable with the Traffic Commissioner 6 weeks beforehand. So I don't understand how that can happen. And thank you. Just another point there, that the full range of issues, it's not always easy for decision makers to see the full range of issues that impact bus users, changes to first and last bus times, changes to frequency, connections with other bus services, rail services and coach services that people rely on aren't always obvious if you're looking at a timetable or analysing data from ticket machines. So our proposed solutions. There is a mechanism to amend the EP scheme fairly easily, variation mechanism, subject to approval by this board. And we propose that the following measures and requirements are enshrined in the EP. A measure is something that the council does, and a requirement is something that the operator does. Councillor Wilkins, you mentioned about setting the fixed change dates for 2026 at the next meeting. We propose that the fixed change dates would be set for the next 5 years to assist long-term planning. The West of England Enhanced Partnership has those written in up to and including 2030. We see no reason why Somerset shouldn't do the same and adopt the same dates as the West of England because of the cross-boundary issues. So that would enable the operators then know in advance what dates they've got to work to and can plan for the long term, and council too with expiry of contracts and retendering and so forth. Now, the current 4-week pre-registration period, which we're now just in, we propose to extend that to 6 weeks to allow time for consultation with bus users and communities, and this will be done for all operators. All operators in the EP area will be required to conform to it, so there won't be any issues about commercial confidentiality through an operator actually sharing their plans in advance of other operators. Operators would provide the council with an outline proposals of what they intend to do 14 weeks before the fixed change date, and then the full details 12 weeks before the change date. So that 14 weeks is to give the council a little time, 2 extra weeks to know what's happening and to kind of sketch out the consultation that they're going to need to do. But 12 weeks instead of the current 10-week deadline will be the kind of final date when the final proposals are made. And then the consultation will carry on with ward members, town and parish councils, bus user stakeholder group members. So there's a list of potential consultees already, and because the bus user stakeholder group has got contacts out in the community to know who to go to about this. And then the council would report back the results from the consultation 7 weeks before the fixed change date. So that's 1 week before the final timetable has to be registered. Next slide, please. Of course, in practice, throughout the consultation process, the council can feed back to the operator, well, this is what we're hearing from such and such. So it can be, there's an ongoing dialogue taking place there. So the operator then has a fairly short period of time to consider responses, see whether that influences their proposals, make a final decision, and register the changes on the date required by the Transport Act 6 weeks before the fixed change date. Then the operator would publish the new timetables on their website, and the council would ensure all the timetables are on Travelline 4 weeks before the fixed change date. So there's plenty of advance notice for bus users about what's happening, and they can make plans if they have to change their travel arrangements. And then the operator and the council should do a consultation report. It doesn't have to be a big too formal publication, but something that explains the reasons why changes are being made and why alternatives that may have been suggested can't be done. And that consultation report should be published on the website. And the final point here is the operator should make a proportionate contribution towards the cost of the consultation. There will still be scope for making changes at short notice. We've heard today a few punctuality changes that need to be made at fairly short notice to comply with the Traffic Commissioner's wishes. There'll still be scope to do that, as there is at the moment. So next slide, please. So what would be the result? Well, we'd get an informed decision made after consideration of the views of bus users and local communities about the impact that the proposals would have. We'd have an explanation of why the decision was made and why any other options were discounted. But I think bus users understand that. They understand that operators are under pressure to keep costs down. They understand that the council's in a difficult financial situation. But it's appreciated to have that explained why things are made, and there will be sufficient time given publication of the advance in information to enable bus users to plan ahead. And I'm sure this will produce fewer complaints after the event and a lot of time saved by officers, bus company managers and elected members in following things up. And of course, this would not impact at all on operators' commercial freedom or the confidentiality. No changes at all there. So that's it. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, I'm obviously this is a recommendation for changes to the EP, and I don't think it's fair at this point to ask the operators to comment, because it's quite a big thing. So I'm going to suggest that we give them the slides that you've provided, and that they report back their feelings on this proposal at the next one in October. You know, from a Somerset Council's point of view, we always push to get as much information as early as possible, and to be fair, when the bus operators have that information, they have provided it to us and to the bus partnership as early as they can. But earlier is always much more desired, I think, would be the answer. But obviously, these meetings that we have are, you know, we rely on goodwill from all our parties for this to move forward. So I suggest that we just I don't take any questions at this point or any statements from any of the operators at this point. I think it's probably best that they take the slides and then fully digest your proposal and come back, you know, to see what they think at a later date once they've fully absorbed, you know, the implications of what of the ask. Would that be fair? Does anybody disagree with that statement? Go on, Andy.
Thank you, Chair. I don't disagree with your suggestion, except that I think if we delay a decision until the October meeting, it pushes back the implementation of this. I would hope that the officers can liaise with operators, as have regular meetings in the meantime, such that the October meeting gets presented with a proposal that's got the broad sign up of operators, and we're able to agree things actually at that meeting.
I'm looking at what's been put in the chat, and I do think that there just needs enough time for the operators to understand this fully. So I hear what you're saying, but I don't want to rush something as important as a change in the EP. And I want to give everybody enough opportunity so that everybody's on board with whatever proposed changes may come from this. I just think that we need to allow enough time. I understand your frustration at the speed of things, but I genuinely think that we just need to give enough time, and unless the operators all come to a joint conclusion earlier than that. But I feel that there's a lot of pressure on operators with you know, and making a decision like this. I think we just got to give them time. I'm going to let Peter in at this point.
Thank you, Chair. Just to echo what Andy has said, that ideally the officers will liaise with the bus operators such that at the October meeting we will have a proposal which will hopefully be very similar to the one that Andy's outlined to be agreed at that October meeting, and that we don't have protracted discussions beyond the October meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, on a purely practical basis, I know how much we push to get information early, and sometimes, you know, we would like it earlier, very much so. So I'm just, you know, we'll wait and see. You've given us the proposal. You've got those slides. I think it's only right that we allow the operators time to digest what you've proposed, and then obviously our officers will have conversations in due course, and we'll see where we go from there. But I'm not going to make any hard and fast promises other than by the next meeting we'll have a response of some sort or another, I think is the fair way of moving forward. Okay, so I'm going to move on to section 8, which is update from operators, which is on the impact of the government's £3 fare, BSIP funded schemes, and any other relevant updates. So I'm going to invite any operators, and I'm going to ask you all to jump in when you fancy it this time. And I'm not going to single out any particular operator. So who wants to go first? If there's any, do you have any updates? Obviously, other than the timetable changes. I'm not hearing anybody.
Hello, Chair. It's Josh at Hatch Green Coaches again.
Hi, Josh. Thanks for jumping in. You're a star.
That's all right. Two things that I really just wanted to mention. The first one is something we don't often talk about, really, which is drivers and I guess their contribution, kind of overlooked somewhat. And the reason I mention it is that on one of the routes we operate, a tendered route, the 23 and the 23B, our drivers have been contending with quite a sizable road closure of Kingston Road in Taunton. And this has been going on since early April and will be going on for a number of months into the autumn. Just the very nature of that work means that where the road is closed alters, and we're in regular contact with the contractor to modify the diversion and keep passengers updated with which stops are served and which ones aren't. And that's an ever shifting jigsaw. For instance, today we were expecting the diversion to follow one route, and then we're notified this morning that actually the section that was due to close today has been pushed back by a week. And I guess, as well as, you know, the fact we're doing our very best to keep the service reliable and operating to keep our passengers happy, that's really only achieved because our drivers are so on board with making sure they're up to speed with the diversion and are incredibly patient, because the diversionary routes that they're having to follow are less than pleasant a lot of the time because they're quite narrow. So really it was about just, I guess, bringing to the board's attention the work that our drivers do in keeping services reliable. The second point I just wanted to mention was about fares, but specifically on a commercial service, then the 97 that I mentioned earlier. When the ATP child fare zone, or the Taunton fare zone, ended with the ATP child fare, we had a lot of passenger feedback at that point when the child fare increased to its pre-capped level, that was quite a significant jump, and a lot of families would struggle to pay the the fare. So we, as an operator on that one route, have capped child fares at £1, and we've had really fantastic feedback from, well, I say passengers, actually it's the parents of those child passengers, that it's really helped them make journeys, and we've seen an increase in the number of children travelling on that particular route. So that's something that has, I guess, been very much driven just by our interaction with our passengers, and hopefully we'll keep the service kind of busy through the summer holidays as well. And I guess our rationale was that, well, the route is operating anyway, so it seemed a real shame after all the work that had gone into driving patronage with the Taunton Fare Zone that we were going to suddenly lose lots and lots of children travelling on that route. Hence, we decided to introduce our own cap at £1 for children on that route. Those are just the two bits I really wanted to mention.
Okay, thank you, Josh. I think it's fair to say that every one of us on this call has a real deep understanding or a deep respect for the drivers that are really doing the day-to-day work. We do talk from a higher level, if you like, about routes and what have you, but it's the drivers and the passengers that that this is all about. And I would, I think I speak for everyone when I say that, please send our appreciation for the work that all our drivers across Somerset do, because they do an incredible job, and often in very difficult circumstances. Absolutely. And that's an interesting optic you've got on the children using that particular service, and it's certainly interesting. We put the initial £1 trial in to see if we could get the numbers up, and it's interesting that you feel that you can continue that in order to keep those numbers high. We're always working to try and find the best result for passengers. At the end of the day, that's what we're here for. So and I really appreciate the work you've done. Okay, I'm going to go to, who have we got? George, I'm going to go to you first. That's okay.
Sure. Yeah, not a problem. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm George Burton. I'm the head of network for First West of England. So predominant operator of the 3, 7, 5, 4 and 6 and 1, 7, 2, 3 and 4 in the region. You kind of asked about £3 fare, Richard, and the kind of impacts that we're seeing from that. I think the news is actually quite positive. We haven't really seen any drop off in passengers, which is really good. And I think it does kind of make sense in a way, in the sense that I think the £3 fare is still viewed as pretty good value for money for long distance journeys. So that's really positive news from us. Interestingly, adult passengers who are probably the most sensitive to single fare prices are actually slightly up year on year, as are concessions, which we're still trying to get to the bottom of. We've been sort of a meta level. We've been sort of quietly cautious and aware that I think fuel has never been cheaper in real terms. So we're kind of looking out there to see if that's going to have a adverse impact on passenger numbers. Although of course that probably is set to change in the very short term, given the turmoil in the Middle East at the moment. But yeah, I guess from us it's a positive story that we haven't necessarily seen much of a drop off in terms of passenger numbers as a result of the FT scheme changing. That's the main thing I want to update the group on. our point of view in the west of England.
Okay, thanks for that, George. That's very encouraging on the £3. As you say, the fuel prices is a bit of a double-edged sword, I fancy, for you guys. I'll move on.
We're usually quite well insulated from it because we tend to hedge over a long period of time. So it really, it does really impact our bottom line generally, because it just encourages more people into their cars when the relative cost of fuel is so low. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, so far so good in terms of passenger volumes.
Okay, and Stuart.
Hello, Stuart Bailey, First South again. Just wanted to give you an update on our Zebra funded EV rollout. So we are 14 or 15 buses on the road now every day in Somerset, which is absolutely fantastic, with 2 electrified depots in Taunton and Minehead. We will be taking delivery of the final batch of vehicles, another 9 Wrightbus products coming into our Minehead depot in July, which will see the 28A service fully electrified. So really good scheme and really positive. I've been on buses with customers on electric vehicles, and there's a really good customer feedback from their experience on the vehicles. So really positive.
Okay. Right. I'm going to say it again. Any other operator wish to speak on this? In that case, risk of upsetting anybody, I'm going to move on to section 9, which is coach integration. And I'm going to invite an update from National Express. Is Amy on the call?
Hello. Yes.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good
everyone.
morning. Thank you. And sorry for the long wait. It's
It's no problem. Very interesting. I'll just share some slides. Okay. Does that work?
Yeah.
Great. So thanks very much for inviting me to speak today. I'm Amy Poole. I'm Head of Public Affairs for National Express, and I work across our coach and our bus business. Really appreciate the opportunity to just give you a quick update on where we are today. So in terms of coach, I think we're always keen to stress that coach can be forgotten as a major mode of transport. Across Britain, it supports 81,000 jobs and generates 6.4 billion of value.
Colin, can you put yourself on mute, please? Thank you.
Sorry. So coaches provide 450 million passenger journeys a year, which is about 40% of the journeys taken by rail. And coach passengers contribute 8.3 billion every year in local economies, and that's from a report done for Confederation of Passenger Transport by KPMG. So just a bit about us. I think many of you will be familiar with us already. We take customers to around 350 destinations with over 10,000 services every week. So that's around 19 million passenger journeys a year. And importantly, our fleet's 100% accessible, and we have a dedicated assistance travel team who provide specialist support for passengers that need additional assistance. I won't run through all our blurb, but so our operational model, we have 19 external partner operators and 6 internal partner operators. So we support traditional regional operators, and they're who really deliver our network. We operate our services on a purely commercial basis and don't receive any public subsidy. unlike rail. And we use a different range of data sets to determine our routes. So we had a full network shutdown twice during COVID and are building our network back since then. And we're primarily focusing on sort of major city and airport destinations at the moment. In terms of the Southwest, we're as part of our build back, we're continuing to expand our service offering. So we've enhanced our 100 service. So there's now 100 services a week connecting Bristol Airport with Birmingham, Gloucester, Cheltenham, and Weston-super-Mare. And we've really tried to focus on Bristol Airport as a major hub, particularly because of the planned upgrade. And we've also enhanced 3 other services, the 102, the 104 and the 106. In terms of coach, in terms of our sort of ask of the department, we'd really like the DfT to more actively consider coach as part of the integrated transport system. And we've been making quite a lot of representations in terms of the integrated transport strategy that the department's developing. We think coach offers great value for the public purse. It doesn't require large-scale public subsidy or major infrastructure investment, and it's very flexible and able to add capacity and plug connectivity gaps. We do think there's a opportunity for coach to deliver much more, and really we'd hold Peninsular STB up as a blueprint for this. I think their coach action plan is absolutely brilliant, and really wish more other STBs would follow their lead and really consider the role that coach can play in regional connectivity. So that's about it for me.
Okay, thank you very much, Amy. That's a very interesting presentation. I will ask if there's any questions and feedback from our board members. David.
Well, you knew I was going to say this. I'm sure you knew already, but Taunton bus station was an important transport hub for National Express, and will be an important transport hub for National Express when we manage to get it open. So all I want to be reassured, as well as Rebecca, she's not on the call at the moment, that there's staff accommodation coming for First and various leases in place for First Group PLC, but also we've taken into account the needs of National Express in Taunton, because the present facilities aren't good outside the county hall. We need to improve that, and I think we can grow the bus coach experience. I'm also acutely aware that there's a transfer through tickets to Minehead, just like there's with rail. We've got an integration issue there, Richard Futer. Get your head round on the National Express integration with the Minehead bus, because First Bus take a lot of revenue off First Great Western, and they take a revenue off of National Express and cross-country trains on that 28. It's not just a standalone service. So just want reassurances that we're going to get the facilities for National Express, and as we upgrade Bridgewater bus coach station as well, that National Express is taken into account, because it's a very important regional economy issue. And certainly if you're going to North Devon or North Cornwall, they want to try and get the 507 back to Penzance. I'm talking to Pinster about that at the moment, Amy. That is a hub, and I know David Nordy's on this call as well. Is very concerned, I am, that we get that hub back at Taunton, and possibly, I know David wants the National Express to call it Taunton Rail Station for North Devon, because it's quicker than the train. Thank you.
Thank you, David. I think we'll take on board what you've said. Yeah, I'm not going to give a direct response to that. As you know, we're working hard to get the hub in place. So we will take on board what you've had to say, and I think we also answered questions earlier on the bus hub. Right, any other questions for Amy? No. Okay. Oh, hang on. I've just noticed something come up in the chat. I've got the chat off at the moment. So what's this? Okay, I think you've answered that, Amy. Well done. Right, so I'm going to invite an update from Flixbus. So that's Firth South West. Is Rebecca on? Or is Stuart going to take this one?
Hi, Richard. It's Elias.
Hi, Richard.
Rebecca's, sorry, Rebecca, go on.
No, over to you. Thank you, Elias.
Yeah, Rebecca's asked me to take lead on this for First West of England. So just to introduce myself, my name's Elias, Operations Manager for First West. I've been working and overseeing the Flex contract since we started in May. I'm joined today by Hayley Russell. Hayley's a senior lead operations at Flex, who's going to be helping me going through the presentation we've got for you. So I'm going to hand over to Hayley. Hayley's going to cover the Flex part as well as the partnership story. I'll talk a little bit more about the network and early indicators. Just going to share my screen so you can see.
Usual IT gremlins, I see.
Sorry, wait a second. Looks like Teams was frozen up. So try to share my screen.
Have we lost? We lost Iliad altogether.
Richard, are there any other coaching companies, or was Flix the only one? He's going to be joining us.
I think. Unfortunately, he's the only one left.
Okay.
Is he restarting Teams? Okay.
I can, sorry, just hi, Hayley from Flixbus. Thanks for having me. I can see if I can get hold of the presentation really quickly and just share it from my screen.
Okay.
Can't we ask Rebecca to do it, Richard? She knows about Flixbus. She speaks hours about it to me.
Do you know, I don't know any better than Hayley. Hayley works for them, so this is why I asked Hayley to come on. So thank you for coming on, Hayley. Hayley, if you can grab the slides, that would be good. But I do have them. I'm looking for them as well.
Oh, I think he's just admitted.
It's going to be worth the wait.
Okay.
There we go.
Sorry, guys. Technical hitch. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can now.
Fantastic. Forgive me. Yeah, handing over to Hayley to talk about Flixbus. Thank you, Hayley.
Hi. So, yeah, many of you will have heard of Flixbus by now. We've been present in the UK since 2021. Flixbus is a global tech transport provider. So our role is that we are a tech company through and through. To give you an idea, we have 700 software developers and just over 300 tech teams. So we are very much a tech company. The role that we play on a global level is that we plan the networks in each country. So our goal is that whatever country you go to, you have that familiarity of, okay, I can use FlixBus to travel easily. So we want to make travel really simple, really easy, really sustainable for our customers. So what we do is we plan the network, we market the product, we build all of the technology behind it and the systems, and we attract the customers, so we acquire the customers. We then partner with operators who are the experts in actually running transport. So FlixBus don't own any coaches or employ any drivers themselves, apart from, many of you will know, Greyhound, which we bought in 2021 in the US. So we partnered with FirstBus this year to massively enhance our Western corridor. So we operate all across the UK now. And of course, many of you will know the corridor, particularly from Bristol to London, is super popular where coach travel is concerned. Then a little bit on the partnership side of Flix. So very briefly, 2013, FlixBus was actually born out of Germany deregulated long distance transport. So they deregulated transport. FlixBus was kind of born to say, okay, we think we can consolidate and build a national network across Germany along with another tech company. And then the goal right from the start was that we would do that in as many countries across the globe as we possibly could. Hence the name Flix, which means absolutely nothing. It's not short for flexible or anything like that. It's just that it's a word that can be used in any language. So we built the company across the globe, and we're actually in approximately 47 countries now globally since 2013. Then many years went by. We expanded particularly across mainland Europe. So we are market leader in mainland Europe. And then we entered the UK in 2021. Same time as COVID. So it ended up being actually a very good time to launch into the UK when people were kind of desperate after a year or so of lockdown to kind of get out there and get traveling again, but not whilst they're traveling abroad. So we entered the UK 2021, and we now serve in over 80 destinations already within 4 years. And we've had 60% year-on-year passenger growth. So it's been a really, really popular product within the UK. I think that kind of the shift of people moving towards tech and apps to do their travel has kind of been really good timing as well, especially as that is what our product is. Then November 2024, we actually announced the partnership that was with First. So it's something that we've been working on for a couple of years to provide just a sort of 20 coach operation on the West Corridor. And then that's something that over the years our partnership will really develop and really grow to provide reliable, sustainable transport across the UK. In May 25, so just over a month ago was when we did our first launch. So we launched just under 10 coaches from the West Corridor through to places like London, Sheffield, Birmingham, down to sort of Cornwall. And it's been really, really popular so far. And the next phase of growth is coming as well in the next few weeks, where we'll massively see a ramp up on the Bristol to London corridor, particularly, which is already proven incredibly popular with FlixBus.
Thank you, Hayley. So just to expand on Hayley's point on the network, to give you an insight into what it looks like. So this is what we're currently operating to a total of 4 corridors. The main patch we're concerned of here would be the southwest of England corridor. We've got a route starting as south as Penzance, just going off the screen, couldn't fit it in, but covering up to Truro, Newquay, through Plymouth, Exeter, into Bristol. From Bristol, we've got connections going northbound towards Manchester, and a second one going towards Sheffield and Leeds. We then go onwards towards London, continuing that connection from the southwest, in addition to direct feeder routes from Weston-super-Mare through to London, as well as Bath through Slough, Heathrow, and London. In terms of performance, so it's been a huge success from weeks 1 till 5. Had some really, really good indicators. OTP is sitting around the mid 90s mark. NPS is scoring very well, supported by the leading Trustpilot score for Flix. Customers are very happy with drivers, their friendliness, value for money, as well as the brand new and clean coaches. As Hayley indicated, there is more to come. We have got phase 2 around the corner, where we are looking to uplift on our current existing routes, as well as introduce direct connections between the Bristol and Plymouth corridor. So much more to come on that part. And I think that's all from us. Opening the floor up to any questions.
Thank you very much for that. It's very interesting. I will open it up to questions, but I will bear in mind that we are running a bit late, and apologise for that. So any quick questions from board members, please? Now, I think everybody's absorbing what you've told us, and hopefully you'll make those slides available for us going forward. So thank you very much for that. Very useful to understand. Right. So I'm going to move on to section 10, which is an update from Peter Travis for our bus users group.
Thank you very much, Richard. And recognising the time, I'll give you a very abbreviated update, which is really about the fact that bus timetable changes pose a real challenge to bus users, particularly here in Somerset, because of the lack of RTI, because of the no system run by the local transport authority to post bus times at bus stops. It's left to the operator to do it in the main in Somerset, such that we end up with bus passengers going to bus stops at the time of the bus timetable change and the bus not turning up because the bus timetable has been changed. So it's a big challenge, but it's one that the Somerset Bus Partnership tries very hard to help solve, and we are going to be doing that very soon again. It's only a period of 11 weeks since the last timetable change before we have a new one, albeit this time seemingly not the major changes that we saw in April. But we do have changes again coming in on August the 31st. And that is the day before September, which is Catch the Bus Month. So you will see bus stalls all over Somerset promoting on behalf of the bus operators their new timetables. We're very grateful, particularly to First South West and First West of England, but also to Hatch Green, to Fairsaver, and to South West Coaches for the supply of timetables. We are the distribution channel, and it's our volunteers who help get them out to the public. We welcome as many volunteers as possible to those bus stalls, and I'm really pleased to say that it's not unusual to see bus operators joining us on those bus stalls, and sometimes MPs and councillors and other leading personalities in the area. I suppose I have to tell you, blowing the trumpet of the Somerset Bus Partnership, that we were awarded the 2025 Community Impact Award by Bus Users UK for, as they say, Somerset Bus Partnership's exceptional efforts in driving positive change for local bus users, ensuring accessible, reliable travel stays at the heart of the community. Well, we'll be doing our bit, helped, as I say, by many volunteers, and possibly it's necessary to mention one, who is Rosa Kell, who's on this call. Rosa will probably personally be doing at least a dozen bus stalls this change date. It's going to be a very busy time, but working with the bus operators, working with local politicians, we'll be out there promoting buses and encouraging more people to go by bus. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Peter, and just from me, that's a well-deserved award. I think you know, the work you guys put in is just above and beyond, and we really appreciate the impact you have. And apologies that I'm running slightly over time, but I'll go straight on to section 11, which is any other business. Now, I've noted that Barry has put into the chat what is the expected publication date for Somerset Council's all operator timetable booklets, and will it be printed, a PDF, or both? Oh, I've got Sunita who's jumping up and down to answer that question, I believe.
I wasn't going to, but I can. I was coming in on AOB, but okay. We don't have a date for publication yet. We're still working on to develop that booklet. So yeah, bear with us. That's still work in progress.
Okay, thank you for that. And you've got a piece of AOB.
Yeah,
yourself.
all I was going to say was that I was going to say under AOB about spending review outcomes and when we're going to understand about finances from DfT. The long and short of it is that DfT have got to do some business planning, and it's going to take a few months before we actually get some information on what that looks like. So I can do that at the next meeting if we've got more information.
Okay, any other AOB? No. Well, on that case, I think there's a lot for us to digest from today's meeting. Again, apologies for running slightly over time, but I'm just going to go straight on to the date of the next meeting, which will be held on Tuesday, the 14th of October, 2025 at 10 a.m. again. So we look forward to that meeting, as I think it's going to be a very interesting one, especially in regards to the proposals that have been brought. And if we can work any faster on that, we will. But I think that we just need a bit of time to allow operators to digest the implications for them. And like I said before, we always love early information, but I'll leave it at that. So it brings me to bring an end to the meeting, and apologies again for running slightly over time. So thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you in October, but probably before in most cases. Don't know whether you've jumped on screen to say anything else, Sunita. No. Okay.
No, I was just going to say thank you and goodbye.
Thank you, everybody, and really appreciate really good meeting.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.